Hey y'all, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bailey.
Welcome to Living on a Prayer.
We're two best friends who are here to keep it real and relatable.
Through life's hills and valleys, we're here to remind you we're all just living on a prayer. All right, welcome back.
You ready, sister?
Yeah, episode 4.
All right. Today's episode
We're gonna
is going to be a little
dive
different.
deep.
Yeah, we're going to dive a little deep on a conversation topic that can be kind of tough sometimes because it's like real. Like
really real.
It happens daily, and it's something, I guess, especially living in like a small community, can happen fairly often and sometimes entirely too often. So kind of circling back to if you were listening to our last episode, we kind of ended it on surrounding yourself with
your
the
people,
right circle.
Your circle matters, your community matters.
Mm-hmm. Because what people are telling you absolutely is going to persuade how you view yourself, maybe a situation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like what's going on in your life, even like people's opinions and verbiage can really affect that.
Yeah.
So even like at work, I mean, you're somewhere and you love your job, but then someone is in your ear like, did you notice this? And you're
It
like,
says something negative, and
you
then
know, you
that's
didn't even see it.
You notice
Yeah.
all the time after that.
So,
or if you want to go on like a trip or be a part of a program, and then a group of people just keeps telling you about how they don't want to, so why should you? And so then you start thinking to yourself like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't want to do that.
this.
Maybe I should, whatever, you know?
So our word for today is gossip.
There it is.
We
folks.
are talking gossip. Something like we said, it happens all the time, especially in women, like between women.
I don't know. Sometimes I think men might be worse.
Men do be gossiping too.
They do be.
They just kind of get off the hook because
I don't know why. Why do they?
They get off the hook with everything. They get to have gray hair. They get to age gracefully. We're like, pew, pew, Botox.
Yeah.
You know, they get a couple things, but men, I feel like they don't hold grudges like women do. So they may have situations, but I feel like they're like, all right, buddy, dap off.
That's
like,
it.
We're still cool, right?
Yeah.
But
or they just write them off and then they don't talk about it ever again, and that's
like,
it.
That's
the end
it.
of their friendship.
They don't even
and they
care.
don't make it a thing.
They have no. But so that's why I feel like, I mean, girls can really relate to this.
We're just emotional beings a little bit more.
We're wired differently.
Yeah,
we are,
and that's okay.
So I'll be first to say I gossip. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and
I think we'd all be
say
lying.
that I don't.
We would be lying if we said that we didn't.
So, and a lot of times I find myself doing it before I even know it. I'm like in a conversation and I'm talking and I'm like, oh no, like, where is this going? And words are just coming out of my mouth and I'm like not stopping it. So that's something that we were just talking about before we started, like being aware of when a conversation is moving towards gossip and away from God.
Yeah.
And being able to call it out and own it for what it is and say, hey, this is not a godly conversation. This is getting a little uncomfortable. This is gossip.
Positive. It's not bringing any good to anybody.
I'd love to continue talking to you, but let's switch it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Which is really hard. Like, why is that so hard for us sometimes to like, I mean, for me it is.
I think just because we want to fit in or feel like a part of something, and when
like,
somebody's
please,
when you're just in the middle of a conversation, even if you don't know how negative it is yet, it's just you want to be a part of the conversation, so you just get in it, and then sometimes you're too far in to realize what it is, and then you don't want to. I don't know why we don't want to be,
what
but
I'm
like
saying.
the bearer of bad news, like, I don't really think that we should be talking about this.
But I think that's like a lot of things that come with being a Christian. Like, they're uncomfortable moments that we have to be strong enough to handle.
They're big, uncomfortable moments.
Yeah.
And
like,
I've been there way too many times where I probably should have stepped in and said something. Even if I didn't like defend or continue with the conversation.
You just sat there and let it happen.
I just sat there and let it happen. I should have just said like, hey, this is really not our business. I don't think that we should be talking about this. Like, this is not creating anything good or positive, because when you walk away from the conversation,
you feel yucky.
You feel way worse than if you would have just stopped it.
Right. And I think it happens like we were saying, like so quickly sometimes that you're like in so deep, and it's almost like, I mean, I have found myself saying stuff and thinking in my head, like, you literally don't mean that.
You don't believe it.
But why'd you say it?
Yeah.
You little loser. Like, come on. But like, seriously, it happens all the time. And that not just with gossip, a lot of things that like as Christians, we are called to stand up for and speak out and like be strength, like have strength.
There's just like a lot of controversy with it.
Yeah. And it's like so intimidating, but like, why wouldn't it be intimidating to talk bad about, like to literally talk bad about a human should be just as intimidating. Cause you're like, I'm saying something horrible about a human that doesn't even have, like, they're not even here to defend themselves.
Right.
That should be just as scary to come out your mouth as like, hey, this is not godly. I want it to stop.
Yeah.
So
that
again,
just reminds me of, and I've tried to live by this a lot more recently. Like, I am not sitting at tables that if I am not at the table, if I get up and go to the bathroom, they're going to talk bad about me.
Right.
Right. Like, that is not my table. That's not the people I need to be around. It's not the table I need to sit at. And also, if there are people at that table that won't defend your name,
what's the
whether
point?
they stop it
Yeah.
or they
don't
engage, it's still
not your circle.
Right.
Yeah. You would want to know that if like you got up to go to the bathroom and someone starts talking like, did you see her outfit? Like, someone else can hop in and say, hey guys, like, I love her outfit, or like, let's not do this. She's literally in the bathroom. She's coming right back.
Don't worry about it. Right.
You know, but like, that's the petty stuff that we even talk about as women. Like, and a lot of it, I think, stems from jealousy and your own insecurities.
Right.
So when you're like pointing out something that someone's doing, most of the time it stems back to like you wishing you had it or could do it or wear it.
If it has nothing to do with you, don't comment on it.
Yeah, like straight up.
Right.
Like for real. So
unless you have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Period.
That's really...
Is that the end of the episode?
It could be, but no, because I have more.
All right, we're going to go further.
Sorry, guys. If you were done, we are not. So obviously the Bible talks about gossip a lot. Like it's in numerous books. They talk about controlling your tongue and like what that means as a Christian, what you're supposed to do to honor God, like all these things. So I found a couple verses. I was reading the top like 30 verses and they are all so good. Like I wish I could just sit here and read them all because they're all so good and in such different ways. Like each one I read, I was like, okay. And one of them hit me real hard, which when I get to that one, I'll say it. But it's another thing that like circles back to like getting in the word and digging in to the Lord and like knowing what like in every page of the Bible, God is like living in, like he's alive, you know? So like there's things that I read that I have never read before or was not aware of. And I read it and it like hits me and I'm like, almost like, I wish I would have known that. Like, I wish I would have known that before, right. But like I could have, but I didn't. And it's some of these verses like kind of struck with me. And like I said, I'm chatty. I'm a talker. I used to struggle really bad with gossip. And again, a lot of it I think was more just me being like, well, I don't like her, because it was something I didn't have or I was jealous of. I will say I'm like so mumuch better. And today, like I'm matured a lot with that. You will still catch me talking about, like I catch myself and I'm like, oh, girl, shush. But it's usually nothing like I used to could say some pretty harsh things.
Too, it's more because you want to fit in.
Yeah.
And you are trying to find your people. So
I used to could say some pretty harsh things and have no remorse, basically. Like, well, she deserved it or she hurt me or whatever. And like now I'm like trying to flip that and be like,
right, because it's not
let's give
about
grace.
you.
It's like, whew, okay. So I'm going to start with Proverbs. This is chapter 11. I'm starting with verse 9. With their words, the godless destroy their friends, but knowledge will rescue the righteous. So just right there, like with their words, the godless will destroy their friends. Like, do you want to be the reason you destroy your friends?
No, your words have power.
Power. Like so much power.
A lot more recently too that I have realized is just the amount of weight that words carry.
Literally.
For other people. It could be the smallest sentence. And it's even, I think it's gotten worse too. If it's not verbally being spoken and like you don't just hear about it later on, it's even in text messages.
Yeah.
It's in comments.
It's almost like people have no like filter. They don't care to like just tell you what they think.
They like hide behind their keyboard. And that's another thing is when you're hiding behind your keyboard and there are words that are typed out, it's what is the intention behind it? Because you don't hear someone's voice.
No.
You don't hear their emphasis and
on
their words.
Yeah. And it's so easy.
You can just
type.
read things and it is so hurtful.
And even if they didn't
meant, even if it wasn't meant to be hurtful, sometimes you can read something and you don't even know.
You're like, wow, that kind of stung. And even if it comes from a friend or someone, you're like, I know there's no way they like meant for that to hurt me, but those words like hurt me.
Right.
That was not nice. And that happens like all the time. And it's so easy. Even I am so guilty of like, if I'm dealing with like confrontation or a situation, like, can I just text you about it? Cause I'm like so scared to like say what I really would want to say. So I'm like, I'll just type it.
But if it's important, you'll have a conversation about it.
For sure.
That's what.
For sure. But I'm not even
matters.
saying my typing is like mean. It doesn't give me the outlet to be like ugly, but it gives me more confidence to say.
It's easier to hide behind a screen.
So people who are like attacking people, it's so much easier to be like,
because you can plan it out in your head. You can respond within 1 minute, within 10 minutes, within 2 days.
Yeah, which like
is not.
That's not realistic.
No,
like, I'm going to read this
genuine
text and answer you in 5 days because I feel like no. That's a whole nother conversation, I guess.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to keep going. The whole city celebrates when the godly succeed. They shout for joy when the wicked die. Upright citizens are good for a city and make it prosper, but the talk of the wicked tears it apart. It is foolish to belittle one's neighbor. A sensible person keeps quiet. A gossip goes around telling secrets, but those who are trustworthy can keep a confidence. So I loved that one too, because it was like talking about the gossipers and the ones telling secrets. Like they lack confidence, they lack trust. Like people don't even look like, you don't look confident when you're talking bad about someone. You actually look pretty weak, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, why do you feel the need to be dogging on somebody right now?
Right.
What's going on in your life? Like, what can we like help you with? What can we turn around? Like, there's got to be something deeper that's causing you to feel like you have
angry
to
or
always
anxious and tear someone else down,
tearing other people down through your pain.
It says more about you as a person,
right,
than it does about the person that you're talking about.
It does, and it's like. It's
or situation or thing or whatever it may be.
It's so valid. And that's something I've really lately too been trying to like just give grace where it's needed, because these things that people say and do not always are stemming from like they actually hate you or they're really mad at you. They're going through something or have been through something that's so shattered their mirror that the best way they know how to handle it is to attack other people.
Well, it's because they haven't put it back together.
Yeah.
They haven't found
there's
the forgiveness.
Something, yes. They have to put their pieces and to feel whole again. So it's easy to take it out on people. It's so easy to talk bad about people.
But does that make them feel better?
No. You know it doesn't.
It actually makes them feel worse, I think.
Because I've done it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, nope, it doesn't make me feel better to vent and talk bad about someone, because then after I'm like, well,
you just feel
that
worse.
was ugly.
Yeah.
And that's not the root of the problem. Like, that's not going to solve anything, us just gossiping about one another. And I also hear when it was saying upright citizens are good for a city and make it prosper, but the talk of the wicked tears it apart.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, because if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. You know, a lot of people in a community will talk bad about a business or about a program that they're, I don't know, kid or themselves or
whatever
a part of, but things that they disagree with, but they don't know a lot about it or they don't know a lot of background, and it's tearing businesses and other people and relationships down.
Right.
When you're speaking about something that you have not no idea about, but sometimes you don't know the full story, you don't know the full extent, and you're not trying to get to it. You're just talking about what you disagree with.
Right. Or what you experience.
Right.
I see it all the time in these mom groups. Like, someone has like
the Facebook groups.
Yeah, like Mandeville moms and all these things. But the like one person has a bad experience somewhere that like, I don't know, like it's valid. Again, like you had a bad experience at a restaurant. Okay. But it could have been something like pretty minor. And instead of just like handling it and calling the restaurant or like going to the restaurant, they go straight to this page to post about it.
Yeah.
And then it's like all these comments. Now, some people are like, did you call the restaurant or whatever? Like, I love that restaurant. I know the owner. They're great. Please don't bash them. Like, this could like ruin them. And then there's the people that are like, thanks for the heads up, never going there. And it's almost just like, gosh, like we are so easily like morphed and influenced.
Yeah.
And to see
by
like
other people's words,
comments like, thanks, never going there. Thanks, what a horrible place. Just like bashing. Can you imagine like the owner reading all these messages and just being like
crushed?
Because for the most part, I know that anyone who owns a business, especially a small business, is like doing everything they can to please people and do a good job. Now, especially like some of these places are hiring, you know, the turnover, like you're trying to get people in that are going to represent you, but that's not always the case. So who knows? It could have been someone having just a bad day.
Right.
And they messed up or they genuinely are just not too great at their job yet. Could have been their first day on the shift. Like, who knows? But instead of just going to slander them, and that like always like makes my heart just like rip because I own a business.
Yes. Yeah, if I saw something terrible about my business online, I probably would crumble. Right?
I would crumble. And like it's happened to me owning a business, like the reviews, like we haven't had too many, but when we do, it's like I lose sleep over them and I'm like, did anyone see that? Did anyone read that? Like what, oh my gosh, what can I do to get them to delete it? Like this was not our intentions, whatever. But it happens all the time. Like people just, I went to that place, like the air was off, so I'm never going back. And then everyone's like, ew, the air wasn't on. What a horrible play. And it just like trickles and that telephone game starts where the story.
I really don't like when somebody will tell you that they like made a Google review or posted on the internet and they got so many people that agreed with them and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
are you proud of that?
Do you want me to give you a pat on the back? Because honestly, I'm just not responding to you about this because...
See, and that's a good time we could step in and be like, hi.
But again, I don't like the confrontation.
No, I know.
I don't want to be like, oh, so you're proud of that? Because I don't want to be ugly.
No, but like I think...
But really like, hey, I don't think that was the best way to do that. Maybe would have been...
Could we have handled it differently?
Right. Different conversation.
Did it affect you that bad that you felt like you might like close their business down?
Right.
Is it worth it?
Yeah.
See, it gets sticky. It does. But like at the end of the day...
Well, it's up to us.
It is. Like it's our job as Christians to be like, hey, that was actually pretty ugly. Like, can we delete it? Can we pray for that business? Can we pray for you? Like, is there something?
There's also someone that is running that business. There is someone that has a staff, and that staff probably works really hard. And maybe there are some people on the staff that don't work so hard. Right. But that's a conversation to have with the owner and say, like, hey, this is the experience I had, but not be like, this is the experience I had and I'm never coming back.
And no one else should go either.
Right.
Yeah. It's just really tough. But just similar with that, like it happens within friend groups. It happens within, honestly, workplaces. Like all the time it happens. It's so easy for us to lose control of our tongues and just talk it out. So that's going to lead me to this next one. This is the one that like when I read it, I was like, all right, God, I see you. I hear you. I'm going to be better. I'm listening. So let's see. If you could, I didn't even tell y'all where I'm at. I done hopped over to James, the book of James. And we're in chapter 1, verse 26. If you claim to be religious, but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself and your religion is worthless. I'm going to read that again. If you claim to be religious, but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself and your religion is worthless.
Can I tell you the first thing that just came to
my
mind?
That's a little heavy, huh?
Yeah, it is really heavy. I kind of lost my breath on that.
I did too. When I first read it, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you see that often where there are people that go to church every Sunday and they claim to be a big part of their church and in these programs and all this stuff. But then when you see them somewhere else, they are like totally acting out as if you would never know that they're a Christian.
Right.
And yes, we all make mistakes. Don't get me wrong there, right? But
daily.
I don't think anything bothers me more than that.
That's honestly,
like,
yes.
Talking a big talk but not walking the walk.
And I gotta tell you, I used to be that person.
Well, at least you recognize it.
Like right? I used to go to, like, to be honest, I didn't start like regularly going to church till about 3 years ago. Again, I went like growing up and then I kind of was in and out through like college and my early years of my marriage. But like I'd go to church and be like, oh, like worship. And then I'm like doing things I should not be doing, saying all these things outside. So I could have even been one of those people that made people turn away from Christianity because they're like, well, you're fake.
You're a hypocrite.
Yeah, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's so common, but it gets really deep. Like some people get so far in over their heads to where they're like putting on this show at one place and then somewhere else they're doing all these things. And I think as Christians, a lot of time people pick the big sins and that's what they're not doing, then they're good Christians. And it's not true.
Because, tell us why.
All sins are equal.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of them. And that's something I have to repeat all the time because like I'll be like, I'm such a good person. Like I don't do that. But I was talking bad about someone the day before.
And
cursing.
Stealing from the corner store.
Yes. Stealing.
Right? Something you can
murdering
go to jail for.
Someone.
Right.
Adultery. All these things are equal. So when I read that this is saying like, if you don't control your tongue, that your religion is worthless, like it just hit me because it's like, oh my gosh, I almost didn't categorize gossip as sin to me. And I knew it was, but I wasn't like.
Well, you don't put it in that big.
No, because I'm not killing anybody.
Umbrella. Right.
I'm not stealing. I'm not lying. I'm not a thief. Like so I'm like, I'm doing pretty good out here. But in reality, like, and reading that just like shook me to my core. Cause I'm like, okay, no, I don't want my religion to be worthless. Like I work hard for this relationship and I want to continue to grow in it and teach people about it. So reading just something as to me that seemed little as gossip is actually detrimental to my relationship with God had me like,
when you want people to trust you too. And it's also, you know, if you're with a group of people or a person and they are talking about someone to you, you better believe that they are talking about you.
And I've actually like witnessed this over the last year.
Yeah.
It was like someone I knew that like constantly was talking about people to me, like all the time. To where I was just like, whew. And I don't know why.
To believe it, didn't you?
I did.
About other people.
I did, but I also never like clicked with that situation. Yeah. And I'm just like, she must really trust me to like tell me all this. And then like a few months later, someone's like, oh, I ran into da-da-da and she had some stuff to say about you. And I was like, about me? I'm the one she tells about. And then it like clicked. It was like, well, duh. If she's saying all this stuff about all these other people, of course she's talking about me.
Yeah.
But it was silly stuff. And I'm like, what? That I never did that or like I never said that. And then it was just like.
That says more about them than it does
about you.
Great.
Everything she was saying about those other people were definitely probably not true or just a little exaggerated. And I was like, okay, now I gotta. But it took that for me to, when she would start talking, to be like, can we change the subject? Or like, oh my gosh, wait, I forgot to tell you something else. And like switch.
Yeah.
It took like a situation of that to be like, okay, well, I guess I don't trust you.
Right.
Because you are out here talking all sorts of things. But I was caught up in it.
Yeah.
Like it gets me like,
well, because it's somebody that you trust, that's your friend, and then like, you get worked up about it. Like emotionally, you're like, either you feel like you're on the same page as them or you're not on the same page as them, but again, you don't want to deal with the confrontation, so you just don't say anything.
Right. And like how like crazy is it that gossip seems fun and it seems like intriguing and like, oh my gosh, tell me, wait.
To who?
Tell me the tea. Like to us, I think to anybody, like, ooh, like we'll even be like, I got some tea. And we're like, ooh, tell me. Like, it's one of those things that I was saying before that Satan like disguises things to look good and bring you this happy, good moment.
It's really shiny.
And then as soon as it's done, you're like, why do I feel really bad? Like, why do I feel worse? So like, even just getting the local tea seems like, ooh, tell me, like call me right now. I need to know.
But if it doesn't have anything to do with me, why am I talking about it?
Right. And why am I so excited to hear about it?
Yeah.
Ugh.
We don't want to talk about people's failures, right? Like that's not going to help bring them make them better.
Like the only tea we need to hear is good tea, sweet tea. I don't want any unsweetened tea.
I like that.
Oh, me too. That's good.
Do you even drink sweet tea?
I will like put a Splenda in it. Like if I have to. But I just drink me a regular little tea.
We like regular tea.
Yeah, just regular tea. It's pretty much just caffeinated water. If you've ever thought of it like that. Like caffeinated lemon water. If there's no sugar in it, if you close your eyes and take a sip, you could probably trick yourself into thinking you're drinking water.
Okay. I wouldn't go that far, but
okay.
Anyway.
That was a little weird, but I've done that before. Like I've been like, this is water. But
I really
tea.
like that. We don't
want any unsweet tea. Bring us the sweet tea. I'd love to talk sweet tea with you all day, but I don't want unsweet tea.
Okay, let me ask you this question because this is going to be, I bet other people have this question too.
Okay.
Like when I'm going through something hard that involves another person.
Right.
And I am talking to you, my best friend, about it. Like,
right.
Hey, this is the situation. This person really hurt me. This is going on. Like, this is the way they acted. This is how they're talking. You know, just real life things. This happens. relationships are crumbling, or this situation happened the other night at we were at someone's wedding and this person acted like this and
Right.
it really affected me, blah blah blah.
Is that gossip?
Yeah, like, do we consider that gossip? But also in what way? Because I'm technically telling you about what happened in my experience and my emotional reaction to it.
Right.
But almost soliciting advice and just telling you, like, I'm having a really hard day today because of what happened and transpired last night.
So I think there's a difference.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
I do think there's a difference with like, but your intentions with that conversation. Like, you're like, I'm not trying to talk, like, in your head, you're not trying to talk bad about this person. You're just like, this person did this to me and now I'm hurt. Like, what do I do?
Right.
Seeking advice, I think, from a friend or someone who's like in your circle that can provide you with godly advice, I think is
totally
no
different
harm
than just me sitting at
but
a
if
table
that
telling the table
conversation
about what happened.
keeps, which it does with us sometimes, like you start getting, and then you're just like, good riddance to her.
Yeah.
Like, it can get twisted. But I think, like, how lonely. Twisted tea. We don't want twisted tea.
We don't want twisted tea.
Really, that's like the telephone game. That makes me think of like the story that keeps growing. That's twisted tea.
Yes.
Unsweet tea is just straight up talking smack.
If you have a program or a team or anything, that is
These
a good
are your new
team
words.
bonding.
No
thing.
Twisted tea.
Don't play telephone.
No
well,
unsweet.
No, play telephone.
Oh, play telephone.
So you can show your team.
Yeah, we can't really
happened.
play that because it's just two of us.
Yeah,
but
honestly, we would probably mess it up.
I used to love that game. And I feel like some people would like purposely like mess it up, which is so
the
true.
gossipers
Someone
who's jealous or
they want the team to fail.
Outcome. Yeah.
So they're like, the word is spaghetti, and they're like, apple. And then everyone's like, at the end, they're like,
applesauce.
And they're like, huh? So that's just like
applesauce.
Stems in us, like from an early age. Like, you're out there trying to get things twisted for no reason. But again, the enemy like sneaks in so soft and gently, and he's like, I'm gonna tell you this secret about something that you shouldn't talk about, but you're gonna want to tell her.
100%.
And then you're like, well, I gotta tell her. Good idea. And then you tell it, and then you're like, even if it's something someone asked you not to tell, and then you tell,
itch.
And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna throw up. I'm literally gonna throw up.
Yeah, that's almost like too. I will say this: I am guilty of it. When you go to send someone a text message about someone else, and then you have the panic factor after you click send
you
of
sent
like
it to the person.
Yeah, if you sent it to the person,
I've done that.
Or did you? Right, and
I've
I have
done
to.
that.
And I think that's really when I caught myself realizing I didn't want to be that person. Like, if I am worried about the person who I'm talking about or the situation I'm talking about, finding out that that's what it's not something that needs to be coming out of my mouth or out of my text message fingers.
Like, if you wouldn't tell them, to their face what you're typing to someone else, then it shouldn't be typed. Yeah, it shouldn't be said. But I'll tell you what, I've done that.
I have too.
One time, and I never did it again. I was in high school. I was mortified.
Yeah.
And I was in the same room as the girl that I texted, talking about her to someone else. What do you think about that?
I think that you got a reality check.
I have hives again right now. And it was
you got a reality check right then and there.
It was like 15 years ago, probably 20 years ago, honestly.
Like,
I think I was in junior high.
Is it somebody that you still see today?
Yeah, we're still friends.
Right.
It was it was a definitely a childish, like, girly pop moment in junior high.
But you know what I'm thinking?
I literally have hives.
Teaching these kids at the dance studio right now.
Yeah.
And now being an adult, I see, like, in here, I just ran into somebody that I went to middle school and high school with. And like, he just told me hello and whatever. But if I would have been an ugly person, like, don't you think he would have hid in his office and never told me hello?
Yeah, but he's like, oh, Kristen.
Hey, yeah, right?
Good to see you.
But it's like the world is round. Every profession we're in now, you run into people that
are popping up
with.
Yeah, left and right.
You work with them now, people that you grew up with. So you do need to start at a young age.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Being a kind person, because people do remember who you were in high school.
They do. And people remember, like we were saying, how heavy words are.
They remember the things that you did to them.
People don't forget words.
Yeah.
Like, I've even like ran into people, like you were saying, like from high school, that have told me stuff that like I don't even remember, but like good stuff. Like, I could have never got through that year without one day you stopped me in the hallway and you told me you liked my skirt, whatever it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like so heavy. But thank God I had that positive influence on you, because there's someone out there that probably feels.
You know what still gets me? Like something that I remember, and she's one of my best friends now, and well, has been, but like still to this day is there was a time that I was feeling really anxious about something, and I went off on one of my friends, and I was like, "You need to," blah, blah, blah. And and it wasn't necessarily what I was saying; it was how I was saying it to her.
Yeah,
and she may not remember that moment, but it still weighs on me the way that I reacted and treated her just because of something that was going on with me.
Yeah,
right. Like I was so ugly in my delivery. And it was something really small.
Yeah, but it was just
still to this day remember that moment because it didn't make me feel good. And I know what I did didn't make her feel good.
Yeah, that's like, it's so like our words are so powerful. And the tone.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah, like just the like, And I even have to like check myself at home back to my marriage, like with Aaron. Sometimes I just know I say things that are not mean things. It's just my tone can be, and it's like, are you okay? And I have to like realize like it's not always what you're saying, it's how you say it, and that affects people.
Well, and unfortunately, when we do that, sometimes it's the people we love the most.
Oh yeah, they always get the punching bag.
Yeah, because we know that they're still gonna love us and care about us, but at the end of the day, like they don't deserve that.
No, and that stems back to like your relationship with God. Like he doesn't deserve all of our actions and the things we're doing, but we know he's just going to forgive us, right? He's going to take us back. If we say we're sorry, he forgives us like this.
Yeah.
He literally died for us to make all these sins and to live this life.
Yeah.
But like, who are we to take advantage? He's like, I do it with like my mom, my husband, my sister, when she lived here. Now I don't see her as much, so she's never my punching bag. But when you're growing up, you know, she was my best friend in the house, and like I would take out stuff on her, my mom, Aaron, and it's like, well, they're going to take me back. They're my family. They're not going to be mad at me. We'll get over this. We'll talk this through.
But it could be really hurtful.
Right. And then like
sometimes there's the straw that breaks the camel's back. Like there are some people in your life that you get 3 chances with them.
Yeah.
Like you were ugly to them once. I still love you. You know, maybe you were having a bad day.
Right.
Next time they do it, they're like, ooh, this is really happening a good bit.
Yeah.
Then the third time you do it, you know, sometimes they're just like, I don't deserve this in my life. Like there are a lot of other people in my life that give me really good energy, really positive vibes, and they love me and they support me, and they don't talk to me like that.
Right. And so like I think we get so like caught up in our earthly relationships because of like things like this, and it's always such a good reminder. Like I just pretended everything you were saying was about Jesus, like about the people that are in your life that are good and bringing you good. Why are we entertaining something that's not godly?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, God is not going to give you the things he has in store for you if you are entertaining something that is not for him.
Amen.
And you know that. I say it all the time.
I'm gonna start crying. I feel like I've been in that like,
you have. I know. And the truth of it is, it's like we on earth, like we get caught up in these big things and these things that make us feel like so good when they feel that good, like but
shiny,
so bad when they feel bad. And I've told you this 1,000 times. He is not giving us all the glory, all the good things he has planned for us if we are entertaining something that does not come from him.
And something that doesn't love or support him.
Right. So it's like with bringing it back to the gossip, like that does not show any kind of love to our Father, talking bad about people on earth. Right.
I started. I can't stop.
You can just cry. We are taking a commercial break for Kristen to cry it out. Just kidding. You can cry though, it's all right. But it's true. Like it's like you've been in a heavy season, and a season that seemed really shiny and good at first, and then it wasn't.
One, I've just had to sit and reflect. And it's honestly when I finally started removing little things from my life that I realized like God doesn't want me to be a part of this because it's not good for me. It's bringing me more.
It's not good
tragedy,
for you. Yeah.
You know, more anxious feelings, and it's bringing me
joy,
peace. So, you know, I've started
peace.
Yeah.
If you don't feel that,
started removing a few things, and when I remove something that doesn't fill my cup and support the Lord, I have found other things in my life that haven't. Right?
Yeah.
No.
I see.
Right. Like it has become very clear to me, like what really doesn't serve
you
purpose
and the Lord.
And, yeah. And then I've been able to water other areas in my life that are in need of blooming and in need of
water. They're thirsty.
Of supporting God and
put some sweet tea on that.
Yeah, put some sweet tea on that.
But really, it is so true, and it's like we can get so into these earthly situations that we feel are so good for us. Or like, oh, I know, but my heart is telling me. I'll tell you what, your heart's not telling you anything ever. Do not listen to your heart. Listen to Jesus, because our hearts tell us to do some wacky things.
Yeah.
Almost every time I'm like, I got to listen to my heart. It is wrong. Do not listen.
Your gut. Your gut does.
But your gut is God.
Yeah. If you have like a weird feeling like I shouldn't be going,
and you know
to
what,
this
Kristen,
place.
you know how you said like you're like, I don't feel like I hear God's voice as much. Like you were like, I don't hear him like listening. I don't hear him the way you hear him. He speaks to you. He speaks to you, but that's your gut. And we get it twisted on earth that we're like, oh, my gut says that. No, baby, your gut can't talk.
Your gut is
God
Jesus.
is talking to you. You're feeling it in your body. You think it's your gut because it's within you. It's in your chest.
But if you are having a physical reaction to something, whether it's good or bad, you're going to know. And if you know, you can't question it. Be like, well, why am I feeling nervous about this? Like, no, you're feeling nervous because it's either a really positive nervousness, right? Or it's a really negative nervousness.
Exactly.
And your body will be able to discern it.
You know. And that's honestly like God's voice. And a lot of people think they don't hear God, but they can know when they've had those situations. Or, oh, I've felt like that before. Just know God is speaking to you. You just have to listen to him. Give your ears a chance to hear that this is the Lord speaking to you. This is not your heart or your gut. None of that stuff talks to you. Those are just organs. Those are body parts. Like, I cannot tell you the amount of times people are, I just got to listen to my heart. My heart told me, no. And don't listen to your heart, because half the time it's wrong. Because we get in these situations where we think our hearts just know what we need, but we could not be more wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to read, I guess this can kind of like wrap us up. Just another verse from Proverbs that stuck with me, that I'd like to kind of close this out on. So this is Proverbs 16:28. A perverse person stirs up conflict, and gossip separates close friends.
Ooh. Yeah. Repeat it.
A perverse person stirs up conflict, and gossip separates close friends. I'm also going to read it from my Bible, because my Bible kind of like translates things for like it to make like be a little clearer. So a lot of times,
basically, gossip is not the truth.
Yeah, but I like to read it from both, because I do feel like my Bible that I read makes it a little more like understandable in today's world, not like thou shalt thou like, and you're like, oh, now brown cow, like whatever. So that's the original verse, but I am going to read it from here too, just so y'all can hear it in a different wording, see if it kind of resonates with you. A troublemaker plants seeds of strife. Gossip separates the best of friends.
Amen.
So a troublemaker is planting these seeds, and that gossip can separate the best of friends. Like negative talk. It's our words. So really, I just challenge you, if you are in a situation where you feel like, I shouldn't be in this conversation, this is not godly, this is not for me, speak up. Speak up. I'm challenging myself.
Me too.
From here on to just, and it's hard too, because it happens in my salon sometimes, and I'm like, I'm servicing them, like I don't want to like embarrass them, but there's a nice, gentle way to say it. Like, hey, let's change the subject.
It's about your delivery.
Yeah. Like, let's just move. You don't even have to be like, God told me to tell you, like, and make them uncomfortable. It could even just be like, hey, I don't really feel comfortable talking about her without her being here. What else have you been up to? Do you have any trips planned? Like, redirect. So we just challenge y'all to do the same. Yeah. If you find yourself in an unsweet tea pitcher, hop over to that sweet tea. Pour it out and move on. But really, we got to stand up for ourselves and our relationships with God. Alrighty. Right. Well, that's a wrap.